How do we make sure that a student who's quiet in the classroom isn't just being overlooked? How do we know if they need a little extra help with English? Well, that's where a really crucial tool comes into play. The Summative English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, or as you probably know it, the EPAC. So today we're going to unpack what this test is, why it matters so much, and how it really helps shape a student's entire educational journey.
This quote from Martha Gomez, it just hits you, right? It perfectly highlights the exact problem the ELPAC is trying to solve. For 6 whole months, a student's needs went completely unnoticed. Assessments like this one are designed to make sure that never happens, to make sure no student is invisible in the classroom. And to really get the scale of this, look at this number, 1.4 million. That's how many students in California are classified as English learners. That's almost 20% of the entire student population. You know, with that many students, having a consistent statewide way to track their progress isn't just a nice idea. It's absolutely essential. And it's so important to remember that the Summative ELPAC isn't just about getting a score at the end of the year. Not at all. It's really a tool that's designed to measure how a student is progressing year after year. The information it gives helps teachers figure out exactly what they need to do. Maybe it's more small group work, or maybe different learning materials, so they can better support each student on their own unique path to becoming fluent.
Okay, so what does this test actually measure? Let's pop the hood and break down how it's all put together to get a really complete picture of a student's language skills.
So, who takes it? The Summative ELPAC is for students all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade who've already been identified as English learners. You can think of it like an annual check-in that happens every spring, just to see how they're doing. And they'll keep taking it each year until they hit the mark and can be reclassified as fluent in English. Now, to get that full picture, the test looks at 4 key areas, or what they call domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. See, it's not just about one thing. It's about looking at everything. How well a student can understand what's being said, how they express their own ideas out loud, if they can understand a written text, and if they can write down their thoughts clearly. Altogether, these 4 parts give a really holistic view.
Okay, so we've tested these 4 different areas. How does all of that information actually turn into a result we can use? Let's take a look at how the scores are put together to build a really clear profile of what a student can do.
The way the scoring works is actually pretty straightforward. It's like building blocks. It starts with how the student did in each of those 4 domains we just talked about. Then, those are grouped together into 2 composite scores. And finally, those 2 composite scores are combined to give you one single overall score.
So, those 2 main composite scores are all about oral language and written language. Makes sense, right? The oral score is a mix of their listening and speaking skills, and the written score combines their reading and writing skills. By splitting it up like this, educators get a much clearer idea of a student's strengths, both when they're talking and when they're working with text.
And at the end of the day, all of this adds up to an overall proficiency level on a simple scale from 1 to 4. That one number is a super critical piece of the puzzle that, along with a few other things, helps schools decide when a student has gotten to a point of fluency and is officially ready for reclassification.
All right, this next part is just so important, especially for anyone who is actually giving these tests. A score is only as good as the way the test was given. So let's talk about how the whole process is standardized to make sure every single result is fair and, most importantly, valid.
I mean, just think about that for a second. When you see a student's score, what makes you feel confident that it's a real, accurate reflection of what they can do? Well, the answer really comes down to one word: consistency.
And this is the key to that consistency. The Directions for Administration, or DFA. This is the official rulebook for the test. It's a secure document, and it has the exact step-by-step instructions that test examiners have to follow, and I mean have to follow, to the letter. It's not optional, because it's absolutely essential for the integrity of the whole assessment.
And this quote from the training materials really says it all, doesn't it? Keeping the test materials secure and following that DFA manual exactly. They're 2 sides of the same coin. Both are absolutely critical to make sure every single student gets a fair shot and that the results are a valid measure of their skills.
So what this all boils down to is pretty simple. When every student gets the exact same instructions and the exact same testing experience, we can actually trust the results. Standardization takes away all the little differences, making sure that the final score really reflects what a student knows and can do, not how the test was given that day. And that brings us to our final thought here.
Once we have trustworthy, valid results from a test that we know is given fairly, that's when the real work begins, right? That data is our starting point. It's like a map that shows us where a student is right now. So the question for all of us then becomes, how do we use that map to best support each student on their own unique path to success?